tonight. But our big question for today: is there a center of excellence or a success story anywhere in the country that you can call truly world class? Is there a center of excellence, something being done right? If you can find one such center of excellence, share it with us and answer the question: can that center or that example be the catalyst for massive change across our country? Post your answer on Facebook or send it to us by WhatsApp on 024 999 In today's Data is King segment, Amos will share a damning report that suggests that only 18% of managers are good at managing people. That simply means that 82% or 4 out of every 5 managers is clueless about the very reason why they earn huge salaries. Are you in the 18 or the 82%? Don't miss that one. And it comes up in our Data is King segment. In our Game Changer segment today, Jojo will chip in on our theme of trailblazing with the heartwarming story of a rapper determined to change a 700-year-old educational tradition. But before I introduce my guest for tonight, I would like to invite Comfort to give us our quote for the day. Comfort, what is the quote for today?
Well, today's quote says, courage is what it takes to stand up and speak. On the other hand, courage is still what it takes to sit down and listen.
Wow, and that comes from?
That comes from Winston Churchill, the beloved British Prime Minister who led them during the Second World War.
All right, it gives the impression about contextual leadership. Courage is what it takes to stand up and speak, and courage is also what it takes to sit down and listen. I get the impression of contextual leadership.
Definitely. It's talking about the courage, and you look at how people find when is the most important time to use what time. And it reminds me of a story about President Mandela, where they were on a small plane with a couple of others, and then the weather was very intemperate, and then the storm threatened to blow the plane out of the skies, and everybody was frantic. But President Mandela kept his calm and was just reading his book. Therefore, his calm demeanor inspired the crew to focus on the attacks, and they were able to land gently. After they landed, the president said, "Whoa, that was scary." That shows that there are times when you need to be cool, and that shows that you are courageous in the midst of a storm. And keep the
Charlie, I can't imagine myself reading when it will take all the strength in the world to stay calm and read while a plane is threatening to crash. But that's Mandela for you. Tonight we are joined by a man who is our own version of an exemplary leader, a man we truly celebrate here at Springboard. Patrick Awuah Jr. is a Ghanaian engineer, educator, and entrepreneur. 17 years ago, he established Ashesi University, which has become a trailblazer in tertiary education. Patrick's work has won several awards, including the Order of the Volta in 2007, the John P. McNulty Prize in 2009, Ghana's 8th most respected CEO in 2010, 50 greatest leaders in 2015 from Fortune magazine, and then MacArthur Fellowship in 2015 and the Wise Prize for Education in 2017. In 2019, he's been appointed to the UNESCO Commission focusing on the future of global education. Patrick, welcome to Springboard. This is your home.
Thank you. It's always good to be back.
Yes, you are an adjunct lecturer in the virtual university. Our university has a limitless number of you get to pay them, so you choose carefully, but we just look for the people who have the values we aspire to and then put them on our virtual academic board, so it extends liberally. But good to see you.
It's good to see you.
Let's start from the UNESCO assignment and congratulate you on being in a position where you can speak to the future of global education. Tell us what it's about.
Well, what it is, it's a commission that's been put together with individuals from all over the world to deliberate on a quarterly basis on what the future of education is. So we're going to be thinking about where the world is going,
right,
and what we need to do in education to prepare future citizens and leaders of the world.
The moment I heard about that appointment, my first thoughts went to the prediction. What is your personal prediction about the future of global education?
Well, I think that education is one of the most powerful mechanisms that humanity has found to aid its progress while maintaining memory. So if you think about, the history of humanity, civilizations have come and gone. You see histories littered with, relics from great nations that are no longer here. But you can also see that all of those nations left something to human knowledge. So the mathematics that was invented, long ago in India and the Middle East and others is with us. The literature that's developed elsewhere is still with us. And that's all been sort of passed through the educational system of humanity. And so we're going to continue to play that role, that education is going to be a way to pass forward existing knowledge, existing culture, existing aesthetic, and past culture and aesthetic to future generations. But education is also going to be the place where we see new inventions, right? So new ideas will be formed out of education, and that will remain the central, the central output of education. Education, like any other industry or enterprise, also benefits from the use of technology. And so what confronts us now is that technology is changing very rapidly, right? So we're sort of at the cusp of the fourth industrial revolution. We're going to move to an age of intelligent machines. Humans are going to be able to do things with biology that we couldn't do before. And all of this are going to have profound implications for how human societies are conducted.
Right.
And education will leverage that technology. So we will see vast computer networks and artificial intelligences that are participating in the task of educating humans. And we're also going to have to educate people to leverage that technology in a positive way.
When you describe the future, I pause to ask myself, where do we find ourselves in all this maze as Africans? So for somebody running an educational institution in Africa, the question that comes to my mind, how do we come to the table in the kind of future that you are describing, driven by technology with all that, the intelligence, artificial intelligence, and everything that is happening or that's going to happen going forward? How do we come to the table big time as Africans?
Well, we have to push ourselves to come to the edge of technology, and we have to push ourselves to achieve a certain level of excellence. We have to come up with a vision of what we want Africa to be, who we want to be, and then work towards that. So I'll give you an example. If you were to go to China or Singapore or South Korea 50 years ago and say to them that they should invest in educating top engineers and scientists in the world, who would be producing most of the computing equipment of the world, people would have said that is not their competitive advantage.
Right.
That is something that the West does better than Asia. But they did the hard work of preparing people to do that, right? And today, most of these mobile devices that we use are manufactured in Asia. The network switches and equipment that we use are manufactured there. The servers, microprocessors, there's a lot of manufacturing there that's happening that we could not have envisioned 50 years ago.
You keep saying we. Who's we?
We, humanity, the world.
You're talking about Africa. And you're painting the future of the kind of Africa that we need. And you say we should. Who's we?
We are the world, right? So, and Africa needs to think like that. We need to think we are part of the world. And we're going to be at the same level as everyone else in the world. And we have to get away from trying to take shortcuts, right? So I'll go back to this mobile example that I gave. We like to brag now on the African continent that we leapfrogged telecommunications to mobile telephony. And in a way that's true. But we leapfrogged in the use of it, not in the creation of it, right? So the masts, the switching equipment, the computer systems, the mobile devices, we designed and built none of it. What we've done is we've deployed it and we're adding value-added services on top of it. So we're playing in the value-added area. But we should have been positioned to be able to create some of these networks ourselves, right? And in the same way, as we're looking forward and we think about artificial intelligence, or we think about all the really incredible advances going on in the world, we should be encouraging the young people of this country and of this continent to be aspiring to be at the forefront of that revolution.
Right.
And so it means that, for example, we should build engineering programs that are very well equipped and where students are building things, they're designing and building things, and not sort of lull ourselves into this sense that, oh, maybe we can do some online course and they'll learn something, but not at the same cutting edge at, say, at MIT or Harvard, right? So we have to have that kind of ambition for the continent. And then we have to start to take the small incremental steps to get there.
Let's drill down to your perspective about leadership, and by extension, what kind of leadership Africa needs. What is your concept of leadership, and what kind of leadership do you think Africa as a continent needs?
So let me first say that leadership is really hard. Okay, and I say leadership as defined by people who are in a position to move, empower, inspire, and enable others around them to move in a particular direction, right, to achieve a particular vision. And the thing that makes leadership hard is that, sometimes you have leaders who sort of lose sight of the vision, and they sort of just think about the acquisition and maintenance of power, right, which is a very limiting, because it's a very limiting view. It doesn't have to do with advancing others. But that really is the definition of leaders. Leaders are people who help others to be more successful, who empower other people, who look out for the common good. And we need those kinds of leaders. We need leaders who are principally committed to the common good. We need leaders of high integrity. We need leaders who have a determination to achieve an end and to achieve it the right way. All societies need leaders like this, and Africa certainly does as well.
Equipping others, high integrity, focused on achieving the common good and doing things the right way. Do we have it?
We have it in pockets. I think we need a lot more of it on the continent.
This whole discussion is about replicating pockets of excellence, and the reason we invited you is because we put out a poll that says, tell us which success story that you are looking at as an individual Ghanaian that you can say this is an example of something that is being done in Ghana that is world class. And quite a number of people pointed to Ashesi as an example that they think some of what you are doing there is what they expect to see us doing on a bigger scale. There's quite a number of others that people have mentioned, and I'll list some of them as we go along the line. But the big question we are asking, what are you doing at Ashesi that is catching the attention of people? And even more importantly, can we take that and strive to have it as a critical mass widespread across the country? So for the benefit of our listeners, just give us a sense of the Ashesi model. What are you trying to achieve on the Hill at Brekusu?
So what we're trying to do at Ashesi is we want to empower the human capital of this country and other African countries. So it is all about refining and empowering human capability, right? And that sort of, and when I say human capability, I'm talking about not just intelligence, or sort of intellectual capability, but also emotional capability and integrity. And these things are very connected. So, and we've been so focused on that. We don't waver from that. We don't, wake up in the morning and think we're going to build a great engineering program or a great business program. We think we're going to build great people. And that has been very central to us. And I think when you have that belief that the people around you are very capable and you focus your attention on helping them to reach their full potential, then you achieve excellence in whatever organization or community that you're operating in.
What is excellence in your opinion? When I was in school, excellence was getting 100% or 95%. What really is excellence?
Right. So excellence is really doing your best work as much as possible and all the time, right? So let me see if I can explain that a little bit more. So you talked about, excellence was getting 100%. I don't think getting 100% on an exam is necessarily the definition of excellence.
Tell me.
In fact, it's excellent in one dimension, but not in others. So if you think about excellence for entrepreneurial thinking or entrepreneurial drive or scientific inquiry, that the people who innovate are people who take risks and people who are okay with failing sometimes, right? And getting up and continuing. And in a way, the people who get A's all the time, they're right at least 80% of the time, right? So they've not really built the capability of failing, right? But the person who sometimes gets 40%, that person has experienced failure. And if they can get up and keep going and have grit, that is excellent in its own way, right? So that's why I say it's both the intellectual and the emotional excellence that we have to look at. We should also look at moral excellence, right? So you think about what makes humans different from other animals. And we are animals. We're just the smartest ones around. But we're also the most moral ones around. We have a conscience. We sort of think about what is good and right. We sort of in a conscious way think about others and think about how our actions affect others. And so if we want to be excellent human beings, we have to be excellent in our morality and our as well as in our intellectual capabilities. And excellent doesn't mean perfection. Right? People will make mistakes, but they need to sort of get up from those mistakes and keep going.
Two questions come to my mind from your description. The first one is, there's this school of thought that says it is no wonder those who get 100% rarely go into entrepreneurship. So now with the explanation, I'm beginning to put two and two together and say, okay, so it explains probably why the A-class students statistically don't often go into business and entrepreneurship. And what you're saying gives me an idea that probably there's a link between that one. But even more importantly, you mentioned exams and 100% not being the sole determinant of excellence. I'm thinking about the ANA code, something that the first thing that went around about Ashesi is that school that you do exams without an invigilator.
Right.
I was speaking to somebody who came to your school just, when was the last intake? A couple of months ago?
Right, that's right, so September.
I said, yes, tell me about the ANA code. He said, yeah, we signed up to it before we even came. And then he's trying to explain it to me. I know about it, but this is a fresh student trying to explain to me why he doesn't need an invigilator to write an exam. Tell me, what do you tell them when they arrive?
But you see, I think that is excellence, right? So when somebody says, look, I can be in an exam room and I find it really difficult and I can see I'm not going to get 100%. My grade is going to be lower, but I'm not going to try to cheat to get that 100%, because 100% is not the goal. The goal is for me to learn.
Right.
And they can make that decision that I'm going to act with integrity, regardless of what my grade is going to turn out. That is excellence, right? So those are the people that you can trust to run important organizations, because they're the ones who will be able to admit when they've made a mistake and take corrective action. They're the ones who are not going to be cutting corners. They're the ones that are not going to be stealing from the organization, and so on.
Our registrar went to do a course in statistics at Legon. I remember several years ago, she decided to improve on her knowledge of statistics for her own work. And she went to do a course at Legon, and she came back with tears because they are writing an exam. And here were people she knew who were in positions of responsibility, brazenly cheating in the exams. And she said she told herself, I won't do it. And she failed the paper, but she felt so broken that people did not regard. She scraped through, but she's reminding me she didn't feel. But even more
she barely passed.
She barely passed, but she was so hurt by the fact that these were people who were in positions of responsibility, holding titles, and they were cheating in exams. But Patrick, it seems to be something that has become entrenched in our lives. In fact, we had a Springboard event, and Dr. Tabo had a shock of his life because with all the cameras on them, with all their lecturers present, students were asked, how many of you, if you got the chance to see exam papers a day before the exam, will cheat? And openly, probably 8 out of 10 lifted up their hands.
Right.
Are you surprised?
Well, I'm disappointed, but I'm not surprised, because I've heard it. I've heard it before as well from, my students who've come from, secondary schools and junior high schools where cheating was rampant.
Organized, supported, facilitated.
Sometimes by teachers,
yes.
Right? So it's
and parents,
right. and invigilators sometimes, right? So this is. I think we should all be alarmed by it. Right? Because what it does is it completely corrodes the integrity of society when everybody thinks that it's okay to cheat to get by, right? And the way to think about it is to really look at the boundary conditions, right? Extreme boundaries. So let's say you have a society where everybody cheats, lies, steals all the time. Everybody. That's a dystopia, right? And a boundary where nobody ever does the wrong thing. That's a utopia. Now, let's look at the scenario where everyone cheats and steals and lies all the time. What can happen in that society? Can people get together to do a business? Can parents trust their children? Can children trust their parents? In a society like that, you cannot have a modern functioning state. You cannot have anything that requires collective action, right? Because you can't trust anybody.
Wow.
And the opposite, in a society where you can trust everybody, you can have a very high velocity society. They can get together and do things quickly and move very fast, and go very far very quickly. So we need to understand that if we build up a generation that sees absolutely nothing wrong with cheating, they'll also see nothing wrong with stealing and other things, and they will not be able to run a modern functioning state that is competitive in the world.
So you see a correlation between cheating in exams and corruption on a mass scale?
Yes, absolutely.
It is 30 minutes, the midpoint of the show, 30 minutes beyond the hour of 7 o'clock. If you just joined us, this is Springboard, your virtual university. My name is Albert Okene. I'm hanging out here with Patrick Awuah as we try to understand excellence and how it can be replicated across board in the country and the continent. He's been telling us about Ashesi and the vision of building human capital. He says that is the first consideration in everything they do before the faculties, the personnel, and everything comes in. Building human capital. And we've spoken about the Honor Code and other aspects of the work he's doing at Ashesi. But I'll be breaking some news very shortly about Patrick just before we close the show and ask you what you think. I'll tell you very shortly what he's planning to do in 2020. But When we come back from this break, we'll be talking about that report that says 18%. It's only 18% of managers that understand managing people. The remaining 82%, they collect the cash and have no clue. It's a very serious report. And Amos will be bringing us that very shortly. But let me say that this program is brought to you by Legacy and Legacy Enjoy FM with support from MTN, Ghana's #1 network, EcoBank, the Pan-African Bank, and the graphic business. And talking about EcoBank, are you a trader or a merchant looking to grow your business? Then now's the time to grow faster and go further with EcoBank's Digi Banking Park. The EcoBank Digi Banking Park is designed specially with the growth of your business in mind. The benefits include zero opening balance, no monthly service charges, automatic access to EcoBank's payment and collection solutions, a loan of up to 200,000, and much more. The EcoBank Digi Banking Park also comes with capacity building and financial literacy programs to empower you to grow your business. So to find out more about how to grow faster and go further with a bank that understands your business, visit the nearest EcoBank branch or call toll free on 3225, or better still, contact us on digiparkgh@ecobank.com. EcoBank mobile app, the CIMG product of the year 2018. EcoBank 2 times CIMG Hall of Fame bank, and EcoBank definitely the Pan-African Bank. Let's take a message from our sponsors. When we come back, let's find out, are you in the 18% or the 82% that are absolutely clueless? Please don't go away.
This is a pre-boarding announcement for MTN Pulse and Chill Flight 567 to Dubai. Keep browsing and talking with your MTN Pulse bundle to stand the chance of winning an all-expense paid trip to Dubai. You can also win Bose headsets, 4G devices, and more from now to 30th November. Send check to 567 or use the MTN Pulse app to check your points today. We'll see you in Dubai.
MTN Pulse. Just be. Terms and conditions apply. We day for you everywhere you go.
Charlie, where are you?
Boss man, I'm at the bank.
Really? But your car is in front of your house.
Bro, my bank on my phone, Charlie.
Oh, how?
EcoBank, bro. With EcoBank mobile app, I can do everything, anywhere, anytime. Listen, I just checked my account balance, paid Ahmed's school fees, and sent money to my grandma at Wale.
Oh, wow.
Wow. Massa, just download the EcoBank mobile app from the Google Play Store or the App Store, or dial *770# and be your own bank manager.
Manager.
Whether to pay bills or fees, to check account statements, send money across Ghana, abroad, and more, EcoBank mobile app has got it covered. EcoBank Mobile, making everyday people live everyday lives the EcoBank way. EcoBank, the Pan-African Bank.
And Springboard is the virtual university. Today on our Data is King segment, I'm telling you that we posted the highlights of this, or the report, just the part that says 18% of managers. It's only 18% of managers who understand how to manage people, and the people are really angry, angry on Facebook, especially the part that says that means that 82% are collecting their money and not doing their job. It's not sitting well with people at all. So let's go to the report itself and find out what exactly is the source of this statistic.
Okay, so this evening Data is King segment is titled The Leadership Crisis.
Right.
And we are combining two reports, the World Economic Forum report on the future of work, and then a report produced by Potential Project, which is a leading firm, leadership training firm.
Right.
So the World Economic Forum report on the future of work identified people management and coordinating with others as two of the most critical skills for career relevance in 2020 and beyond. However, according to a Gallup poll in 2016, it says that only 18% of managers demonstrate high-level talent for managing people. And this is where that shocking thing comes. When you turn it around, then it means 82% of managers really don't have the skills to lead people.
Right.
And it ties in also with a statistic represented on the 15th of September, which says that 71% of companies do not think that their current leaders are capable of driving them into the future.
Right.
So an article by Potential Project titled The Real Leadership Crisis, which draws on a 2-year study of 35,000 leaders, says that people on the leadership fast track often get promoted based on pushing those they manage and also defeating the internal organizational competition. As a result, these managers turn out to be bosses who either do not listen at worst or abusive at worst. And according to that same report, 50% of all people who quit their job do so in order to run now away from their managers who are ruining their lives.
That's the part that caught my attention. Say that part again, I beg you.
50%
of people who resign.
Of people who resign.
Resign because of the person managing them.
Yes.
Shocking.
Yes. So tonight we have a question for our listeners. And we are saying, is the tough, aggressive, and uncompromising approach a necessary evil in managing people in our part of the world? Or is there a better way?
Charlie, you do over. Hey, that is it. That is it. Some people say they are people, they are stubborn. So you need a tough, uncompromising, aggressive approach to get them to do the basic minimum. But Patrick, is there a better way? You are the guru. Tell us, Charlie. You have to help us solve this one. First of all, are you surprised at these statistics?
Well, not completely. I think that when 18% have high level capability is really talking about 18% that are the top.
All right.
But
so
it's
the high
possible.
Level is the qualifier.
It's possible that there are people sort of in the middle that are sort of okay around. You have a normal distribution, right? There's going to be people who are really good. There's going to be a few of them, and then there's a lot clustered around the median, and then a few that are terrible, right? So I'm not completely surprised, but I wouldn't call myself a guru, though I would say that my management style is not to micromanage people, to give people room to work. And the only requirement for me is that, so actually let me say, if people are making mistakes all the time, they're clearly not trying hard enough. And they're going to hear from me that, hey, look, this error is recurring and it's a problem. But it is also the case that people who never make...
I'm interested in the hearing from you.
People,
is it just hearing?
Well, yes, they hear from me. I mean, I will express a displeasure about the state of affairs, and the best people will take that feedback and turn around and turn it into something really great, right?
Do you fire when the need arises?
I have on occasion. It is the part of my job that I find most difficult, and it is something that I need to work at. And actually, there are times when I have fired too late. I should probably have done it quicker. It would have been better for everybody involved. But I'm working on it. I won't say that it is also the case that people who never make mistakes are also probably not working hard enough. Because if you're working hard enough, then you're going to be pushing the performance horizon. You're going to be attempting things that you haven't done before.
Right.
And because you're attempting those things, you are going to make some mistakes. And that is okay. It's not to say that I want to see all my people making mistakes, but when somebody makes a mistake, it is perfectly okay. What is not okay is that they sort of fail to acknowledge the mistake, or they keep repeating the mistake, right? That is where there's a problem. So for me, as a manager, I think that if you really want to empower people, you have to give them space to get work done. You have to set very high expectations of what you want them to do and hold them to it. You have to put the right people in the right positions, and you have to also make sure that you don't have people on the team that are disrupting others, because sometimes and this is where I would say, the times when I have waited too long to fire somebody is when that person is disrupting others.
Right.
We really should not tolerate it at all. And I have tolerated it on some occasions, much to my regret.
41 minutes past the hour of 7. It's a conversation we are having about leadership excellence and replicating success models. And that's the next question I'll be asking Patrick. How do we grow more Ashesis, more success stories across the country and also across the continent? But driving further into these statistics that Amos shared, the one that catches my attention is the potential project Real Leadership Crisis that says very often the people who get promoted are the ones who are pushing those they manage, and also who literally outwit and defeat others. It's almost like a contest. Break somebody's neck and then move yourself forward.
Right.
Patrick, is that the best way to get things done?
It's not, and people like that are very dangerous to an organization, because if you think about who makes it to be CEO. The CEO has to care about everyone. The CEO has to care about employees, about customers, about shareholders, about the public, right? Other stakeholders. And so you want the people who rise up to the CEO level or to the C-suite to be people who can really care about others, who have empathy. And those that rise up by sort of elbowing other people out of their way don't have empathy. And when they end up in positions of power, they can cause great damage. Their mistakes will be sort of existential mistakes for the organization.
Talking about empathy, it's a centerpiece of I almost said the doctrine, but the theory of emotional intelligence. And you seem to be describing, as in your last point, the need for emotional intelligence in leadership. How big is that issue?
I think it is central to everything that a leader does. If you're there to help others to be more successful, you have to have empathy. If you're there to run an organization that delivers value to customers, you have to have empathy, deep empathy for your customers, right? And so empathy is not this soft.
Some people think empathy is sympathy.
They think of it as sympathy, some squishy, sort of touchy-feely thing, right? It is actually a very important business skill.
Right. Let me define empathy as captured in this quote that is right in front of me. It says empathy is seeing with the eyes of another.
Correct.
Listening with the ears of another, and feeling with the heart of another.
Yes. And imagine the leadership of an organization that can do all of that from the perspective of customers.
Right.
Or a politician that can really see and feel and hear from the perspective of their citizens or their constituents. How great that leader would be, right? So empathy I would say that it is one of, if not the most important leadership capability or attribute in any society or in any organization.
Really, really interesting point you make, Patrick. Patrick, you told me about replicability. How do we replicate these success stories? If you talk about there are a few cases we are looking at that. Let me ask you, outside Ashesi, what has impressed you? Any example, any case study, any Ghanaian example that has caught your attention? You're like, oh, they are doing some great stuff. They tell me, outside Ashesi, is there anything that has caught your attention? Let me say that because I know you eat, sleep, and drink Ashesi, but let's go outside your home base.
So that is a really, really good question. And I think my answer is going to surprise you.
Try me.
So, so early days when I was running Ashesi, there's an organization that sort of caught my eye that I really admired. The organization, I really admired the leader. It's a very different style, sort of the organization had a different style and vibe than what I was building at Ashesi, but nonetheless, I really respected it. And that organization was UT Financial Services, and Kofi Awuah being as a leader was very impressive to me, because this is somebody who had worked in the military, had switched careers, was in financial services. You know, you could see the culture that he was building in that organization, and the dedication and the discipline. There was this discipline there that was very impressive. A little different style than mine, because he's a military guy and I was not. So, you know, of course, we all know what happened with UT Bank recently. And I remember reading the news, and just, you know, as a founder myself, I just felt awful for Kofi Awuah. I mean, I just felt, oh my God, I mean, he built this thing, he stepped away from it, and it died. And this must be a very painful experience that he's going through. And I wonder what happened.
Have you reached out to him?
I reached out to him when the news first broke, and I said, look, Kofi, I'm really sorry to hear what happened, and let me know if there's anything I can do to help. And I've also recently reached out to him to actually come and speak with students and faculty at Ashesi to sort of share his experience, because there's always so much you can learn from people who have suffered a setback of this nature, but who also had very successful careers. But the thing about, and the reason I use that example is that, you know, at the end of it, the people that we must admire are the people who really do step into the arena, who really put in the sweat equity, and who struggle and who build something in spite of all the risks. And to the extent that they have setbacks or failures, we should be sort of hoping that they can acknowledge those failures, pay whatever price they need to pay, and then step back into the arena and keep going. So was that the answer you were expecting?
Absolutely brilliant answer. And I'll tell you what, because just to buttress the point that you make, I will recall an experience I had sitting with Kofi Awuah talking about Ubuntu. He was fascinated by this concept of collective ownership, so building a work culture in which there is empathy, and he was very, very passionate in speaking about it. Right. But one thing caught my attention in that discussion we're having. Right at the peak of the discussion, somebody knocked on the door and gave him a signal, and he said, Albert, hold it. So somebody brought him a document, and he said, give me a couple of minutes, and he signed it. And then when he finished, he said, stop, sorry for breaking into our conversation, but I have made a promise to give a loan in 48 hours. If I don't sign now, it will delay the process. I just start laughing.
That's incredible discipline.
That was just Kofi Awuah for you. But let me come back to the question again. How do we replicate these kinds of success stories across the country and the continent?
I think that replication is difficult because excellence starts with people and culture of organizations, and the forming the culture of an organization is not something that's easily replicated. However, if you really want to see excellence replicated across organizations, there's a small group of people that you must start with. The chief executives and their senior leadership teams, right? So if you have the right leadership in place in an organization, then a lot is possible. And so if you're trying to replicate excellence across industries, what you really need to do is you need to replicate great leadership across industries.
When I come back from this segment, I'm going to break the news, but let me break it now, and then when I come back, you comment on it. So next year, 2020, breaking news. Let me play the breaking news sick tune. Patrick Awuah is going on sabbatical, signing off from Ashesi, tuning off from your email. Charlie, tell us what will happen. Then I'll go for the data skin segment, the game changer segment. No, let me come back from the game changer segment, and then we'll hear about the breaking news. Sabbatical, you sign off and go away.
That's right.
Charlie, Jojo, let's hear the game changer segment. In the game changer segment today, we are talking about trailblazers, people who do unusual things to transform society. Jojo, take it away.
So over 700 years, the University of Cambridge has been a bastion of higher education. However, the venerated institution has a bit of a privilege problem. Cambridge has traditionally recruited students from society's elite. A recent study actually showed that 8 of England's top schools had as many students admitted to Cambridge and Oxford as 3/4 of all schools combined. Now, due to this exclusionist recruitment system, black students have been chronically underrepresented at Cambridge. In fact, one Cambridge college did not admit a single black student between 2012 and 2016. Right? So, spurred by his own experience of being kicked out of high school and denied the opportunity to access further education, UK rapper Stormzy decided to set up a scholarship to support black students at Cambridge and increase minority access at the institution. Today, our game changer is blazing a trail. In the year since the scholarship was instituted, Cambridge admitted almost 50% more black undergraduates than the previous year. And this actually led to the number of black undergrads at Cambridge exceeding 200 for the first time in 700 years. As I was actually researching the scholarship, crazy, right? One thing stood out to me. In so many of the articles, black students simply did not see themselves at Cambridge. So the president of Cambridge's Afro-Caribbean Society highlighted this when he said, "I hope the scholarship will be encouraging to any black students who may have been told that Cambridge isn't the place for them." Black students actually sent in few applications, not because they were less talented or less capable, but simply because they did not see themselves represented at Cambridge. Indeed, when public school students even attained the same grades as their private school counterparts, they were still less likely to apply to the top schools. Now, while Stormzy may have only directly sponsored 4 students, he enabled thousands of young black children to dream and to see themselves at Cambridge. Now, consider this statistic. If a male black student has a black male teacher in elementary school, they are 40% less likely to drop out of school by the time graduation rolls around. And singer Dolly Parton put it best: if your actions create a legacy that inspires others to dream more, learn more, do more, and become more, then you are an excellent leader. This week, let us take a moment to recognize the impact that our work and our lives have on the people that look up to us. This has been the Game Changer with Jojo Okran. Have a phenomenal week.
Absolutely brilliant.
That's great.
That's it.
Yeah, that's great. Yes.
You are an educationist. Tell me your thoughts on that.
I think it's fantastic. I mean, that's one of the things that we care a lot about at Ashesi is diversity, and
Right.
we raise scholarship monies to make sure that everyone is represented, that we have 50% women, 50% men, that we have students from all over the country, from all over the continent. I think it's really important.
I've benefited from that, so I can testify about that. Patrick, let's talk about sabbatical. You caught my attention big time when you mentioned sabbatical, that you could actually have the courage to shut down and walk away for half a year. Tell me about it.
Well, so, the university has been running for about 17 and a half years, and our foundation in Seattle has been running for 20 years. So I've been doing this for 20 years, and this year, actually last year, I started to think that perhaps I should take a sabbatical. I needed to take some time off, and, I needed to make sure that I could walk away for a significant amount of time and know that the institution will function well.
But many CEOs I know can't be away from their job for a month. I mean, who will sign the checks, who will do this, who will do that. I mean, there's so much people care about or worry about. How
Right.
can you do that for 6 months? Shut down. You say you shut down your email.
I'm going to delete my email app from my phone, and so I will not be on email.
Wow.
My assistant and my family will be able to reach me in an emergency, but otherwise I am disconnected.
It's breaking news. How is life?
I will come for graduation day next year, but other than that, I will not be connected at all to the university.
It's a lot of boldness, doesn't it?
Yeah, but and it's a milestone, right? I think I have a senior management team that is really excellent, that is very capable, that's really running the ship right now. And we are just about to launch into planning for our next major strategic plan. And I think this is a good time for me to take some time off and clear my head and come back recharged and ready to go for the next major step that Ashesi is going to take.
Right. Let me go to Comfort to ask you the one thing that has caught your attention today. It's been a very insightful discussion for me, and when it happens that way, 1 hour goes very, very fast. But for me, two things that you say have caught my attention. You try to paint a picture of dystopia and utopia, and you linked cheating in exams with corruption and with society in which everybody wants to get things done their way and the shortcuts. And you challenged us to build an Africa where we look at 50 years from now what we'll need and stop this talk about it not being our competitive advantage and start now to do something that may benefit us not in the next electoral cycle but in 50 years. And when I asked you who is we, I was asking who will have the courage to say it's not even about winning the next election, but something that we will do that it is in the next 50 years that we'll actually see the full benefit. That one, it left me thinking, Patrick.
Right.
What is for you the big thoughts that you are carrying away for today?
Well, I definitely did agree with I was going to say Ashesi, Patrick, when he talked about the fact that when you have a society where cheating is the norm, there's breakdown of trust. And business at the speed of trust. I mean, I've forgotten the title of the book properly, but it's talking about the fact...
It's a COVID book, The Speed of Trust, yes.
Yeah. That the fact that when the high trust society, it reduces the cost of doing everything. Right. Whereas when the trust in the society is very low, then it increases the cost of everything. And you see that when 9/11 happened, and now when you're traveling, you no longer can just walk in, but you have to take time and so on and so forth. So definitely, it is true. I mean, trust is really important. Integrity is really important, and we really have to look at ways we can increase integrity in our society.
Right.
Patrick, your closing thoughts in half a minute.
Well, first of all, thanks for having me here. It's been really enjoyable to have this conversation with you. I do think that the question of integrity and trust is really important, and we have to form that through the educational system, through our families, and through faith-based organizations. And all hands must be on deck in addressing this. And if the current state of dishonesty in our school system is anything to go by, then we have a crisis on our hand, and there should be a very concerted effort to address it.
Thank you very much, Patrick Awuah, the founder and president of Ashesi University, about to go on a sabbatical. Let me say good evening to two people tonight. First is Harry Lamptey, first-year student of Ashesi, who tried to explain the Anna Code to me with a sense of pride. The son of my colleague, Mrs. Lamptey, and Reverend Okasa Lamptey. Harry tried to explain to me about the Anna Code. And good evening also to Kofi Amwabing. Today we talked about you in a very special way, and we celebrate you tonight. Jojo, take us home.
So a big thank you to MTN and EcoBank for sponsoring us. Another massive thank you to Graphic Business for the support. My name is Jojo Okran, and on behalf of Team Springboard, comprising Albert, Comfort, Matthew, Priscilla, Amos, and Emmanuel, we say a massive thank you for spending your time with us tonight. Coming up next is A Walk with Jesus, and today we will be discussing a hot topic, polygamy in Christianity, with your regular host, Reverend Ransford Abose, and Pastor Ismaila Awudu. Till we come your way again next week, God bless you, God bless you, God bless you, good night.
Where we going? Wrong decision.